Before the success stories, the progress, there was you. You who made a choice to grow, to inspire, to overcome your own challenges. At NASM, we're in service of your limitless potential, because when you keep growing, we all get stronger, and we'll never stop making your journey our mission. Join the fitness leader. Become a fitness leader. Become a certified personal trainer.
Welcome to this week's Master Instructor Roundtable. I am Wendy Batts, here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Marty Miller. How are you?
I'm good, Wendy. How's everything with you today?
Everything is great. I'm looking forward to our very special guest that we do have on the podcast today. We're going to be bringing in someone from corporate. Her name is Jerry Dow. She is one of NASM's Learning Design Manager. So she has a new title. She's going to tell us all about that and herself. So she is our resident learning expert. And today we're going to be tying in the certified wellness coach's practice and how that fits into personal training. So let's go ahead and bring Jerry on. Hi, Jerry.
Nice to see you both. I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and exactly what you do for NASM?
Sure. Absolutely. I'd love to. So, as you mentioned, I am a learning design manager. And what that means is that I am in charge of overseeing all the processes, all of the structure around how we provide our learning to our learners here at NASM and AFA. And so my job is to make sure that the curriculum we present, the content we present is level appropriate, it makes sense to the learner, it's relevant to what they want to take away, and that they are prepared to meet their goals, whatever that may be, whether it's career or personal goals. So whatever that looks like, my job is to make sure that we get them there. So I partner with a lot of our content experts to make sure that that content is appropriate for the learner, it's what they are looking for. So that's my overall job. I have been doing learning design in some capacity for, almost 15 years this year. So I've been doing that. Previous to my life here at NASM, I was working in higher education, and I actually worked mostly on English and humanities, social sciences type programs. So it was a huge shift for me to kind of look at the physical sciences and anatomy and phys and all that good stuff when I came over here. But the learning's the same. I just get to apply it to a whole new group of learners who are doing something a little bit different. So that's been really exciting. And I've been here at NASM since 2015. So coming up on 9 years this year.
That's great. And so basically no pressure on you to make sure that the content comes out the way that we need it to. So that's awesome.
Right. No, yeah, none whatsoever. It's great. No, but we have such a great team on our development side, and it's been such a pleasure. And it's very neat because when I was working on English programs and stuff, which is my passion, that's what my bachelor's degree is in. I loved that, but I wasn't learning as many different topics as I get to learn here. So that's been really exciting for me as I am a lifelong learner. So getting to see all of our content and use that to empower me to change my life has been really cool. So being able to pass that on to our learners and further that is exciting.
No, that's great. So you kind of lead me into what my first question was going to be is how much learning theory and science went into the building of the CWC?
So yes, every product we do a ton of that. This one was a different product for us because it was a different content area. I mean, some of it overlaps with the work we've done with certified personal trainer and our specializations, but this one was a little bit different in that it was a little bit softer, right? It was a little bit more about human skills rather than the hard science. And we do have science backing up our curriculum, but insofar as the cognitive theories and the learning theories that back it all up, that's going to be, we apply that to every product. The difference with this one is that we were really, really careful about how we scaffolded because it was such a new content area and we were hoping to hit our personal trainers and bring them into the fold, but also some other new learners. We wanted to make sure that our personal trainers wouldn't be frustrated with content that they were already familiar with, but that our new learners could adapt and we could bring them in a little bit more easily. So you'll notice with the product, it looks huge. It's actually not. It's actually quite a bit smaller than CPT, for example, but because we've broken it up and scaffolded it. And what I mean by scaffolding is that what we do in our programs and what I've done when I oversaw the learning for wellness was we made sure that we introduce things in bite-sized chunks. So you get an early concept, and then what we do is we kind of build on that concept as you go. So you might see topics come up again, but this time it's in a new light, or it's building upon that previous concept so that you can kind of build your world out and those constructs a little bit more fluidly as you go. So it looks big, but it's actually really, really intentional about how we made these little steps so that as you go along the way, you're building upon what you've learned before, and you're kind of building out this whole new worldview and all those concepts that we're introducing.
Well, that kind of blends into my question, because when you look at the CWC and you're not looking at the content and comparing the page numbers, there's 35 chapters. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I'm looking at the new PS and I'm like, okay, there's, what is it, 24 chapters or something like that, 23 chapters. However, inside those chapters, there's a bunch of different lectures. And so when you're designing this, like you said, you're kind of going section by section. Is that going to be a commonality in future editions and textbooks and courses that NASM offers, or is it really just course dependent?
So a lot of the one of the learning theories we lean on heavily across all of our products is constructivist theory, and that is that building blocks and that building kind of that worldview and building those concepts up. So you do see kind of that, what I referred to before as scaffolding. You see that through all of our products. With CWC, because there were so many new concepts and they weren't necessarily like with PES, with some of our other specializations, we have an expectation that our learners are coming from a different place. They're coming from certified personal trainer hopefully with us, if not with us, then with another organization, and they're building on content that is already taught, they've already been practicing. So with CWC, we kind of had to break that up a little bit more slowly for our learners, just because they might be coming in totally new. They may not be like our CPTs, though I know we'll talk about this later. The content for CWCs is really, really enriching for our CPTs. So I don't want to discourage anyone just because they look at the number or they think this is for a different learner. It's for everyone, and we can get more into why later. But you will see that scaffolding throughout all of our programs, and you will see probably more of that. I would encourage you to look at, if you're kind of looking at the number of chapters, I would encourage you instead to look at how we've segmented the content. So CWC has multiple sections, and those sections are based on topic area. And though we've got a common thread throughout, those content areas are chunked out so that you can kind of get a holistic picture to build on before you move forward. So that's why we've built it that way. And I know it looks overwhelming, but I promise you, when you do the count, it's actually a lot smaller. And I've done the count on all of our products. So it is a smaller product overall, but honestly, I love it so much. I think it's one of our most enriching products. So I'm really hopeful that our learners will kind of look past that number and instead look at the value, which is absolutely there.
That's great. And thanks for that detailed explanation. And again, you mentioned it. This isn't the first course you've built. You've built many courses. So can you paint with a broad brush for a lot of our listeners who really don't understand the process of how these courses come to life? Can you talk kind of like the basic course development process at NASM?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to. So when we begin a course, what we do is we have an entire team of product managers that do research on the industry as a whole. They look at what are hiring professionals looking for. They look at what are our customers and members looking for, what are potential customers looking for. They look at all of that and they decide this is an area we should explore. Once that's been determined, we go forward and we do something in partnership with our product development team and our product management team, where we create what we call a blueprint. And that blueprint is basically the learning goals of the product, the audience of the product. It fleshes out basically everything we need to know so that when we create a product, we know we're hitting the right audience. We know we are getting the learning goals out so that the behaviors that we're expecting those learners to leave with are indeed going to be there. And then we actually do a table of contents. So we say, based on these learning goals, what are the items that we need to make sure we hit? So, and we kind of nest those under, and then there are actual learning goals for each individual topic that we do. And that eventually ends up being our blueprint for our table of contents that you see as a learner. So once we have all that laid out, we go out and we find the top subject matter experts in those areas. And sometimes I actually like to call them our workhorses and our unicorns. So you might notice that there's a good number of our subject matter experts that you see a lot in our products. I mean, you guys among them. Then you also see some new names sometimes, and I call those our unicorns. So we have our workhorses. Those are the people that are kind of jacks of all trades. We know that they are going to come in and provide our learners exactly what they need, and the general content, that the knowledge they provide is really valuable, and we love to keep using them because we know we can keep that consistency. And then our unicorns are the people that are like, I study this one thing very specifically, and I have lots of information about this specific niche topic, and we had a lot of unicorns in wellness. And then we'll pull those in. So we kind of take a combination of those for most of our products. Sometimes we have to go into a brand new area, and we had to do that with wellness, where we had to find a whole lot of unicorns real fast. And so we rely on our network of subject matter experts to help us locate those. And then we take those, turn them into authors if they're not already, and we partner with them to create content according to that blueprint. Once that content is created, it goes through a rigorous process of review. I review it, or we have one of our other instructional designers review it for instructional integrity. We have our content development managers review it to make sure that that content is in alignment with NASM philosophy or AFA philosophy, and that all the research is solid, and they're just doing kind of a peer review. Sometimes we actually do hire additional peer reviewers to get that overall just an extra level, just like you would see in any kind of research. And then once that's all done, we go through a rigorous editing process, and we put it to build. And we have a really neat platform that we build in that you've seen a lot of our newer courses come in. That's a really interactive, e-learning environment. It looks like a textbook, but it actually allows you to do a good number of interactive elements within that. So videos, audio, downloadables, things of that nature.
I love it. Well, thanks for the detail, because I always love, like, we hear it's going on. We know there's a bunch of people in the process of designing and developing these courses. And then the next thing we know, it's been put on the platform, and it's such a huge change from when we started at NASM. So Jerry, so glad that you're a part of the change and bringing us into something that I think a lot of us really like, because I learn better with the way that the new content is outlined, especially through NASM's platform. So if you're just joining in today on the Master Instructor Roundtable with myself, Wendy Batts, and Marty Miller, we have Jerry Dow joining us, and she is NASM's Learning Design Manager, and she's walking us through basically how courses are developed and talking a little bit about tying the CWC, which is a Certified Wellness Coach, how you can turn that practice into personal training or working alongside of personal training and building your business. But Jerry, before we even dive deeper into building the content, you talked about workhorses, you talked about unicorns. I want to say I'm a unicorn, but unfortunately I'm the workhorse, I think. However,
but we love you for it and we appreciate you.
Why, thanks. One thing that I thought was different and kind of unique to this particular course was the lectures, and that you're having these unicorns or these experts actually going through and providing the video content, which is different than what we've done with the standard lecture video. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why particularly in that course it's important?
Yes, absolutely. And as we move forward and as we get better with our course design and the assets we do, you'll see that we have actually kind of expanded our video library pretty consistently. We have more animations now. We have more lecture videos with more on-screen elements that are not necessarily just kind of a visual lecture where someone's just talking at you. We have more interactive elements. And then as we're expanding that library of videos, we have expanded to include expert interviews. And so we've taken some of the experts in a number of courses, but in CWC specifically, we took some Jamie Tartar, who's our sleep and stress expert. We had Allison Brager, who's just one of the most ridiculously brilliant people I've ever met. And she talked to us about sleep and stress as well. And we had all of these different, Jim Laval came in, and he's wonderful and had so many great things to say about practical applications of nutrition, and that's realistic and holistic, that were wonderful. And we really wanted to get their voices in because it wasn't enough to have them writing for us. We really wanted to make that connection between the learner and our experts. We wanted them to understand that we are not just giving you strategies and hoping that you'll apply them. These are people who have applied them and they've done it really well, and they're really charismatic and really interesting people. And we wanted to make sure that there was that connection there. So we leveraged those expert videos from a learning perspective as a moment of engagement so that our learners are engaged and want to retain the information. But that's the practical element of it. The more aesthetic and fun part of it is that you get to meet the people who are teaching. Like, it's almost like they're there with you. It's gives you some real world application. They were just really cool to work with. So we wanted to share that. There's a lot of really good rationale behind it, but also they were just really cool. And we were like, we need to put them on screen. So it was a little bit of all of that.
I love it.
Yeah, and I'm chuckling, Wendy, because you and I started with this content at the same time when there was that big 3-ring binder.
Oh,
you know, we were lucky if we ended up with the VHS tapes that turned into CDs. So it's good though, right? Like, people's learning outlook have changed, and we have to meet people where they are. And to, like you said, Jerry, to get people to watch a dynamic speaker instead of just reading, it really does make the courses that much better and the learning experience more profound for sure. So switching a little bit now to the topic of how this practice goes into personal training. So how do the coaching skills presented in the CWC apply to the practice of a certified personal trainer for those who are like, no, I'm a personal trainer, I don't need to be a certified wellness coach?
Absolutely. So we have an entire section on behavior coaching, and some of that will be familiar to our personal trainers. Some of it will be new, and we hope that it will be really enriching, and I believe it will be. The reason that a lot of our personal trainers might, I want to say, have been historically hesitant, is that we have given our personal trainers, we've empowered them to be the experts in their area, and that's absolutely still valid. The CWC presents a little bit of a shift, and it's based on behavior science. It's based on what we know about how people change behavior. And that's that if we allow them to be the experts in themselves, if we allow them to say, I know what I am capable of, I just need someone to help guide me along that way, to push me in the right direction, to hold me. One of the big things that we have throughout this course is this concept of, instead of holding people accountable, holding them capable and able to make the changes that they are seeking. If a lot of that behavior change that we provide is around that concept. It's around the concept of these people know what they're capable of. You may need to give them a little nudge. You might need to guide them. You might need to give them the education that you've worked so hard on and give them that kind of context to come from. But if you're able to meet them where they're at, give them things that give them little wins that they can build on, they are more successful. So it's, historically, we've done a lot in personal training to say, I'm the expert, here's what I'm going to tell you, this is going to be the thing that you need to do. And we have implemented some concepts of behavior change. This is a next level of behavior change. This is, how do I get them to do that small thing that will eventually upward spiral into large things and large grand scale change. And so a lot of those behavior change concepts will be new, they will be expanded, they will be more practically applied, they will talk more about what's realistic for people. And so a lot of that is really, really helpful to our personal trainers in ways that I think that the world we're living in now, opposed to 10, 15 years ago, has empowered a little bit more. I think a lot of more people are seeking, what are changes I can make that aren't necessarily, I need to go, lift in the gym, but what is going to be enjoyable for me so that I actually stick to it. So a little bit of a combination of what our experts in personal training already know and applying that to hopefully a wider audience, because we've empowered them to, with this behavior change and coaching model, to basically engage people on a different level, on a more personal level, on a more, I'm going to meet you where you're at and we're going to get there together and we're going to partner on this. And I know you can do this level. I have heard from so many of our experts, so many of the experts that we just, some of our subject matter experts we've used in the past that took the course after we rolled it out. So many of them had said, I wish I had started here before I got into personal training, because it would have made my life so much easier. So, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily always the case. I think some people, it's really core to have that component of, I know what I'm supposed to do so that I can break the rules a little. So I think that I think either way, if you start here and then you move on to personal training, you're going to be better for it. If you are already a personal trainer and you want to learn more about behavior change and scalable upward spirals, this is going to be really, really wonderful for you. So I really don't think it's a win-win. I don't think there's any lose to this. It's all win-win.
Well, I think that kind of goes and fits along the line of the OPT model, because it's not rigid. We're giving you the blueprint, and then you plug and play based on your clients. But one of my favorite things that is being said within the course is that clients being the experts in themselves. Like, love that. And I know that that's a concept, and you just said it. So the fact that you said that kind of made me smile, because I'm like, that's just basically what the course is about, and goes into so much amazing detail. But let me ask you, can you talk to us a little bit about continuing education? So people that are now getting into wellness, we're talking about all this holistic approach. NASM has some amazing courses, especially that focuses in the realm of wellness. So you let our audience know a little bit more about what we do have, in case they haven't gone in to check it out themselves.
Absolutely. So we have rolled out, for wellness in particular, if you're a wellness coach and maybe you don't have or you are a personal trainer who wants to just learn more about building your own wellness business, or making that adjacent to or an add-on to your personal training business, we have a certified wellness coach business course that's really wonderful. It's got a lot of information about just building a basic business, but specific to building a practice for wellness coaches. We also have a simulation that we have rolled out that's really, really cool. When we partnered with some of our partners over at Ascend Learning to build this simulation, they were calling it the Beast because they'd never built anything that's more complicated than this. It was the most complicated simulation that they had built, because there are so many dynamic, revolving, randomized different options for the learner. The simulation helps walk you through some of those coaching skills we introduce you to in wellness, and apply them with 3 clients, but their problems, their challenges, their goals, their motivation change each time you play. So it's totally dynamic. Every single time you play, you will get a different scenario. You can get badges in just absolutely flopping. So you can get a badge if you do everything wrong, and you don't do motivational interviewing, you don't do anything that actually helps the client. You get a badge just because we want you to see, putting these things into practice, what can go wrong, what can go right. The other neat thing is we have a variable in there for just the learners, their mood and their ability to actually get in on board with you. So their motivation is accounted for in there. So it's totally dynamic. It's really, really cool. It allows you to practice all those different skills of motivational interviewing, of behavioral coaching, that are really fun. So we have that. That's available to our wellness coaches. We also have a mindful drinking course. So kind of in that same line, we pulled in an expert in mindful drinking. His name is Derek Brown. He's awesome. He's super charismatic, smart guy. And he talks a lot about not necessarily abstinence from drinking, not necessarily, well, drinking's bad for you, let's get it out of here. More about how do you become intentional about the choices you make specific to drinking, and learning more about what the impact is on you cognitively, with your sleep, physiologically, all of those different elements, and then deciding, if I'm going to drink, here's how I'm going to do it. If I'm going to drink or not going to drink, how can I still navigate the world? And that really, a lot of our social function centers on alcohol. So that's a really, really fun course. We got to do some really neat videos. There's also recipes for some low and no alcohol drinks in there for you that are really fun and delicious. He let me try some when we were on set, and I was running, but it was they would call cut, and I was okay, I want to try it. And I would run. They were so delicious. So there was one with soy sauce in it, and I was that can't be good. It was so good.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I like the participation trophy. I'll get the badge just for showing up. It's like our team. We've got some players that have never even made contact with the ball and bat, and our baseball team, and they get a trophy at the end of the season. So we stopped doing that. Now we give them a mint, they get a bat with their name on it versus a trophy. Because my husband, being the coach, is if you don't win, you don't get a trophy. However, we had to give them something. So it's good to know that even though you're a failure, we're still rewarding you for something.
Right. Well, and there's plenty more badges than that on the simulation. There's badges for doing perfectly, doing everything right. But we wanted to make sure that it had replayability, so you could learn well, what are the consequences if I say this wrong? Are there really consequences? What if I do ask a close-ended question over and over again? What's going to happen? So we wanted our learners to be able to play out every single scenario so that they had that experience, so that when someone was actually physically sitting in front of them, they had less fear. So it provides a really risk-free environment to do that play really safely. And we know, learning wise, that play is a really integral part of learning. We know that if you can kind of mess up in that environment and be a little silly, that you are going to internalize that more and remember it and retain it.
No, that's excellent. So, in addition to all this great information you've already told us about, I haven't taken a CWC yet. It's on my radar for sure, especially after this. So we know the course heavily focuses on coaching skills like motivational interviewing, more so than some of the other courses that are provided through NASM. So can you speak to that and how that can help a personal trainer that takes this course?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, in a lot of our courses, talked about the translate theoretical model of change. We've talked about motivation and how to get what people's goals are and how to extract that from them. This is different because motivational interviewing really asks the coach to, instead of saying, I need you to tell me what this is, we're going to write it down and we're going to hold you accountable to that goal because you said you wanted to do this. Instead, it's about asking them to consider the whole picture as a client and think about, well, what is the change I'm actually trying to make? Not just my motivation, but why is that motivation important? Why am I trying to make this change? What is going to improve about my life or not improve if I do or don't make this change? And so the motivational interviewing process is really neat because it allows them to the coach to kind of guide that rather than direct it. So they say, well, tell me more about that. Can you tell me why that's important to you? So it's a lot of open-ended questions. It's a lot of reflecting back so that the client themselves kind of says and internalizes those thoughts of, this is important to me because I want to feel better because I can't get down on the floor with my kid. And my kid really wants me to play with them. And I'm not able to do that right now. And I'm missing valuable time. And one of my values is that familial connection. So if I'm missing that and I'm not able to do that, I have a better connection with, and I've established that and I've said that out loud to someone else in a way that wasn't just them saying, okay, you want to get on the floor with your kid, but instead have a full discussion around why that's valuable and actually understand that concept really in depth. That's going to be more meaningful for that change than just, well, you told me you wanted to get on the floor with your kid, so we're going to do that. Here's what you're going to do that. Instead, it's, well, what are things that you like to do with your kid now that you can do in the meanwhile while we work on your goal? Can you take them out to the park and let them run around and you get to, spray them with the hose while you're comfortable in a seat, while you're still engaging with them? So what are the things that we can do to help you get there slowly? But while you're doing that, still engage with the things that are valuable and meaningful to you. So it's a really, really meaningful practice. It's a really helpful practice, and it helps the clients adhere better, and it helps the coach understand their clients better.
Jerry, that's deep. I'm thinking, gosh, as you're going through it, I'm like, well, okay, I can play with my kid. And so you've got me thinking, but I have one final question. And sure. You talked about the simulation. I think it's phenomenal. And I am also one of those that still need to take my CWC. I'm now in the process of doing the newest PES, but that is on my bucket list to do. Can you talk to us about learning to coach? I think as personal trainers, we feel confident in being able to build rapport. Marty and I do so many different podcasts on building rapport, talking about subjective information and really trying to make that bond. But even though we've got the motivational interviewing, just like you were talking about, and we're reading about that and learning about it in the course. And even though we have these simulations that NASM is providing, it's still going to be super challenging for a personal trainer to change that if it's something that's new. And right. So is there a best way in your experience for those of us that really want to build up those skills and build that confidence to be the best coach and trainer at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we do in the last section of wellness is we not only tell you the concepts and the theories behind improving your coaching and behavior change, we also give you a lot of tools. So there are handouts that can help you to impart those things to your client so that you can say, we're going to practice this specific skill. I have this handout that helps me know what kind of questions to ask you if I am not comfortable in it yet. I have a handout I can give the client so that I can assess where they are with. We actually have something that we created for the wellness course. It's called our Spectrum of Behavioral Autonomy and Self-efficacy. Sorry, I had to remember, it's a long one. And that allows the coach and the client to assess where someone is in terms of their self-efficacy on a task or an overall goal, their capacity to actually perform that at this stage. And we kind of give you these tools like that so that you can kind of stage out that. So it's not just about the overall concepts and the theories. We actually give you tools to actually practice those things so that if you're uncomfortable with them, it's okay. Here's a handout you can use until you're comfortable. Here's a concept you can use until you're comfortable. So all of those things are practice. And when you do the simulation, it should help you get more practice with that and be more comfortable as well. So we're really trying to close that gap with a lot of the skills and tools that we provide in the course so that if they're new concepts to you or they're old concepts you're applying in a new way, you've got some support there.
Awesome.
So hopefully that answered your question.
Yes.
Thank you.
And by the way, I'm going to be watching and I can't wait to hear when you guys finish the course because I want to hear all about what you thought about it.
Does that mean you're going to see my grade, the scores?
No. I won't do that.
No, that's good.
I will let you tell me what your grade was. No.
Exactly. So my last question is, when we look at learning how to coach others, it can be challenging and intimidating for a lot of people, especially if they're newer to the industry. Is there a best way to pick up those skills and build that confidence?
I would say practice with friends, practice with family. Think about yourself. I mean, a lot of what we've done with wellness is actually put the learner first. The learner is also on their own wellness journey. The learner is also on their own coaching journey. So a lot of what you can, when you're going through the content, you can do a lot of a reflection on how does this apply to me? Does this apply to me? In what ways can I use this to help better my life? How can I use this to help better my coaching? If you can apply it to yourself first, it's really easy to start extrapolating that for friends and family and to practice those questions. Practice motivational interviewing when you're out at brunch with some friends, right? Or you went out to, you pick up your kid from school and instead of saying, how was your day today? And getting, fine, what'd you do today? Nothing, which I have a 10-year-old and those are her favorite words. I don't know. Sorry, that's the third one. Then instead,
I get that one a lot.
I can ask, how was your day today? Tell me about what your favorite activity was that you did in class today. Tell me about something you learned you'd never heard before. So I can ask more questions that allow more opportunity that aren't necessarily I don't know, So practicing those skills with people that are safe for you, that are comfortable for you would be a really, really safe and risk-free way to start practicing those concepts before you have to sit across from somebody who's paying you to do it.
No, those are great points. And, we've always said, in any of our podcasts, you're your own first client. So with this, obviously, you got to talk to somebody else, but keeping it close, keeping it to family and friends, and just being aware of your words. Words are powerful. And that's one great thing from taking this course is you're going to be much more self-aware of your client's needs, but also I think how you maybe presented yourself in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. We have an entire section on acknowledging your own biases as well, because all of us have personal constructs that we bring to the table and these concepts of this is how things are. And so a lot of what we do is help the coach shelve those. They're still there. They're still important, but you are centered on your client and their experience. So how do you really center that and set aside those thoughts?
Well, Wendy, we're going to crush this course.
We are.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear about what you think about it. I'm so excited.
So not only thank you for your time, but thank you for your years of professionalism, really building out some of the best courses that I think some of our, people that go through them take some of it for granted. But when they look back after hearing this, they're gonna be like, wow, there's so much detail in not only the content, but how NASM is trying to allow me to learn in a better environment. So thank you for all the little nuggets of information you shared with myself and Wendy. I know I learned a lot, and I definitely know all of our listeners as well. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to be here and get to see you guys again.
Excellent. Look forward to talking to you again soon, Jerry. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Wendy, I'm so glad you brought this topic up. It's not something I had thought about, because maybe we take it for granted because we've helped build these courses. So I know that, all of our NASM family, when they see and hear the detail and how much pride the NASM takes into building the best courses, hopefully they'll carry that pride into continuing to get more education and understanding, what NASM is as a company.
Absolutely. And don't forget, guys, if you're part of NASM 1, you get 50% off your courses. So you want to take advantage of discounts and the opportunities that NASM is providing, especially when it comes to continuing education, or possibly just adding on to your current business to make you even more different, finding different niches, finding what makes you different. So just always keep that in mind and check out the website to find out how you can get more involved in our courses.
More tools in the toolbox. So,
absolutely.
Wendy, thank you for putting this together today. And for all of you that joined us, we always really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. And we look forward to seeing you next week on the Master Instructor Roundtable.